Hi, I'm Jean-Jacques Taylor. I grew up in the Oak Cliff section of Dallas cheering for Tom Landry's Cowboys. And for the last 30 years, I've covered your Dallas Cowboys as a beat writer, columnist, TV insider, and radio personality. I've made a name for myself by creating relationships with players who either didn't like the media or didn't trust the media. Welcome to JacquesTalk 101. We're going to have conversations with your favorite Cowboys from every era, from players who had great careers to those that had great moments. We'll discuss their lives and their careers and the moments that shaped them. And we'll deliver it like we always do, straight, no chasing. Welcome to JacquesTalk 101. Let's get it. Hi, welcome to JacquesTalk 101. I'm Jean-Jacques Taylor, your host, joined by my boy, Roy Williams. You know, this is the show where we bring you the stars from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and aughts, and we talk about all things Cowboys. Roy, I appreciate you, man. It's good to have you here. And we ain't gonna waste no time with you. So why is Roy laughing? Okay, dog, I've been wanting to know this, and I ain't asked you this in forever.
Okay.
What does the perfect hit feel like?
Honestly, if it's the perfect hit, what it feels like, it don't feel like anything because you don't feel any part of that hit. So, I mean, the perfect hit, I mean, it'd be a hard, or hell, you can't hit nowadays. I can't even talk about hit. Well, back in my day, I sound old saying that.
Sound old.
When older folks will say, well, back in my day. Well, back in my day when it was all fair and game, and you got receivers coming across the field, there used to be a fear of receivers coming across the middle. Not so much these days. But perfect hit is, decleating somebody. And honestly, if I would say one of the perfect hit, I can't say myself, because I didn't see myself as a hard hitter.
How do you not see yourself as a hard hitter?
Because I was more of a technician. I was more of just get the guy down. I did have opportunities where I had some good hits, but majority of my tackles were just like, I was one-on-one and I needed to get the guy down. And I just brought him down, So my perfect hit, I would say, decleat somebody and I don't feel it. Because even though people have hard hits, sometimes you feel majority of that blunt of that force hit. That. So that's not I felt it too. So I don't like the way I feel. So I had some good hits in my days, but the perfect hit is the hit that you don't feel anything.
Now I say that. Now I gotta tell you, I gotta be honest with you. I did watch a Roy Williams best hits highlight tape on the way over here.
Okay.
Because I was trying to get something in my mind and I'm not just saying this, in the 28 years I covered the Cowboys, you clearly are one of the top 2 or 3 hardest hitters I'd ever seen.
Really?
Dog, yes. One is you play safety, so you get a running start, so that makes it better. But people tackle people all the time. Mm-hmm. People don't just have you going, ooh, because you feel the pain. And so that reminded me, like I asked you, do you remember the hit on Marshall Faulk that people talk about?
I know the hit. It was my rookie season. We were playing in St. Louis on their turf. I remember the hit. I don't think it was like all that. I mean, I know I hit him and he fumbled.
Right.
I think Greg Ellis, somebody got the fumble recovery. But outside of that, I mean, that was just...
Like, I talked to former scouting director Larry Lacewell. Rest in peace.
I love Larry. That's my guy, man. He's probably 90% of the reason why I was a Cowboy.
Oh, good. We're going to get into that. And I remember talking to him about that, and he's like, it's the greatest hit I've ever seen. It sounded like a 12-gauge shotgun. It's like the stadium went silent.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't look at myself like that. So that's just me. I'm sorry, but I never was about accolades. I wanted to go out there and have fun and hit people. That's it.
I know. Now, you did light up when I asked you about the Jimmy Williams hit.
Yeah, returner from San Francisco.
I think, because I have your hits in my head ranked. I have 3 of them that stand out to me.
Okay.
Marshall Faulk was one of them.
Okay.
Jimmy Williams, I don't know if y'all remember, nobody really remembers Jimmy Williams, the name, but it's a kickoff return, San Francisco, and he's running fast, he's through the hole, and then you just exploded on him. What do you remember about that?
Now I'm not even gonna front. James Whalen helped out too on that hit because he clipped him at the leg, so he was kind of falling forward when I hit him. Well, he was falling forward, but he ended up going backwards when I hit him. Let's just be real about it.
Right.
So James clips him, and then I just exploded on him. And then he fumbles, and I get the fumble recovery. So I got a forced fumble and a fumble recovery added to my stats. Yes. But it's cool because if you watch that play and then you see him try to get up, he gets up and he stumbles and he falls back down on the ground.
Yeah.
Hell of a hit.
Yes.
that was a great hit because I didn't feel it. You know, so that's a perfect hit. I didn't want to say it before because I don't know where it was going, but I would say that was a perfect hit.
And then the final hit that most people probably think about. What am I talking about?
I don't know. I would say Todd Street.
No, but I watched that one. The other one is Emmitt Smith.
Oh, really?
It's his first game back in Dallas, and it didn't look to me. My high school career ended after the 9th grade, so it didn't look like that to me to be an especially violent hit. But clearly, it was hard because it broke his collarbone and ended his season and his game. What do you remember about that play?
I'm not going to say the player because I don't do that. But there was a bounty out because before that, in the paper, I think Emmett mentioned that he said he was like a diamond in the rough of the Cowboys.
That was a Sports Illustrated story where Emmett said he felt like at times he was a diamond amongst trash with the Cowboys.
Well, however what was said, I just know that a certain player took offense to that, and before we ran out the tunnel, he said, "I got $10,000 whoever takes him out."
$10K, baby.
I was like, word? I was like, that's a thing? I was like, okay. But I never went in like thinking I'm going to take him out. I just knew I wanted to put a love tap on Emmett.
That man said a love tap.
And I had an opportunity, it was a blitz, and I'm coming from the right, so closer to our sideline on the blitz, and I hit the B gap, and there was Emmett, and I just boom. And I was like, I knew it was a hard hit because I know Emmett's not a guy that fumbles, and he almost fumbled that ball when I hit him. But I didn't know I broke his collarbone until later on after the game and said he had a dislocated collarbone or whatever. But I felt a certain way after seeing Emmett's press conference after that game. I'm not going to say I felt bad because I was doing my job.
Right.
But I mean, I felt some type of
humanity.
I felt humanity. I felt emotions because it's like, dude, I grew up watching this dude, and like, I'm not gonna say idolizing him, but respecting what he has done on the football field. And for me to, sour his homecoming in Dallas. But then on the flip side, I was like, hey, can I get my 10 grand? and the person was like, nah, I ain't giving you nothing. So, but whatever, it's all good. I mean, it's all good. And to this day, I still make fun with the dude about it. So
I like that. What? So when you were playing, obviously you were one of the most feared hitters in the game. But as we talked about, did you feel like that, or did you feel you were just doing your thing?
I was just doing my thing. Honestly, I never viewed myself as like some ferocious hitter. I knew when I had an opportunity to like give somebody a good shot, I took that shot, and that's just how I always played the game.
How did the horse collar tackle evolve?
Horse collar tackle evolved since elementary. Pop Warner League, actually PAL, Police Athletic League. I was doing that tackle ever since I've been a kid. And the reason, and I perfected it, and it got better, and not to the fact that it got better because somebody got hurt. It was just to the point of when I'm running at somebody, right, or they're running at me, I give them the illusion that if I slightly shade them, if they're running this way and I'm like coming like at them like this, like at an angle,
right?
I know that they're not going to cut back. So if they're faster than me or not, I think I still give myself a chance to be able to reach and just grab them and bring them down real fast, and I perfected that. And lo and behold, people started getting hurt, and that was like the beginning of a problem for the NFL because quote unquote star players were getting hurt, broken ankles, broken knees, whatnot. And I was a corporate of that. So I think Andy Reid's the one that really pushed for that to be outlawed, and that's how the horse collar happened. It wasn't a malicious play by me. Because if you look, over archives of NFL film, you can see other guys horse collar tackling, but now I'm the one that has a bullseye on them, and you know.
I was gonna say, did you take offense to it being called the Roy Williams rule?
I didn't have offense to it being called the Roy Williams rule. I had a problem with it because they're like, you're a dirty player now. So negate all the other seasons before 2004, 2005 when they implemented that. Negate all that, and now all of a sudden I'm a dirty player. Like, really? Oh, but you were just clapping and applauding for me not too long ago because, you know, I brought somebody down this way or hit somebody hard or whatever, but we'll forget all those other positive things that you've done for the game or for the fan base, and now you're a dirty player. That's not right.
Dallas Cowboys are your favorite team growing up. Mm-hmm. Who were your guys?
Love Tony Dorsett, and it's cool because my dad had a Tony Dorsett jersey in his top drawer in the our townhouse that we lived in. And I don't know why we had a life preserver, but we had a life preserver, and I used to use that as shoulder pads. Right?
Okay.
And then I would throw Tony's jersey on, and I used to run around the house, running into like hardwood, whatever. I used to run into everything. And hardwood doorways and stuff. So, and then I would dive in my parents' bed as if it was a touchdown. But I always envisioned myself playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And I always, regardless of, you know, how their seasons have ended, even when I was there, that star means something to the world, you know, on the side of the helmet. It's a juggernaut, you know what I mean? And so being a Cowboy, watching the Cowboys and then becoming a Cowboy, it meant so much because it's like, man, the legends and the giants that used to walk these halls, you know, it's like I'm walking the same paths that they did. So, I would say Tony Dorsett. I know I was going off, but it was just like, I think back because it's like, sometimes you just need to reflect and really be like, take that moment in because it's like, damn, I did that. You know what I mean? I did it. Like, I did that. And so, but yes, you know, you got the big three. You know who I did an autograph show probably like 2-3 weeks ago. And I really hated that my time didn't meet up with Sherman Williams.
Is that right?
He was there.
Shake?
And I didn't even know his nickname was Shake. But I wanted to meet him because I really thought, like, no offense to Emmett, I love Emmett. He was a great change back, like, you know, Pollard was to Elliott, Ezekiel. Right. So, but I was just like, man, I really liked his game. Like, when number 20 came in with that black visor, boy, I was like, oh, it's about to go down. That was for me. So I was like hoping that I got to meet him, but so much respect for him. But there's this whole bunch. I love Coach Bates. I loved him on kickoff, all special teams when I was watching. Right. Like, man, this is like, who is this crazy maniac running through wedges, you know, going against big offensive linemen? He didn't care. He did not care about his body. So, there was a whole bunch of guys that I was just like, wow, they're legit.
I'm interested, when you get to the Cowboys and you pull on the helmet, is it a surreal moment for you because it was that dream?
I think my surreal moment was when I walked through the curtain, you know what I mean? The
curtain in the locker room. They had all these blue curtains.
Yeah, so when I walked through the curtain and I see Emmett, and I don't remember everybody else, all I seen was Emmett. But everybody, they're playing dominoes. And I was like, that's Emmett's. Like, that was my moment. So here I am, a 20-year-old kid, and I'm just like, wow, that is Emmitt Smith playing dominoes. Like, would never let me play. But I was just like, that was my surreal moment when I went into the Cowboy facility.
Now, see, that's interesting, because I think most people don't realize that in the sense of you're an All-American at OU, you are the biggest of the big-time players. You with the group. Mm-hmm. And so they think, I don't think people realize that, yeah, but you're still a fan of the game. And so you come in, you see these cats, you like, wow.
Yeah. No, I don't know if it showed on my face, but I really was like, oh my God, look at that. So,
and that works both ways because I grew up in Dallas. So I was a Cowboys fan when I grew up. Mm-hmm. And people say, how do you cover the team as a fan? I said, it's real easy. The first time you write something somebody don't like and it cuts you out, You stop being a fan. You just go back to being regular.
Back to your business.
You're a person that I cover. You're a team that I cover, and I had to take the emotions out of it because you can't do that because it affects how you write and how you cover and how you approach people.
Yeah,
but it's Did you never play dominoes?
I never played with them.
Really?
I played dominoes, but I didn't. I let them do what they're doing.
I say that because I made the mistake of stepping into a dominoes game.
Oh,
it was a slow day, and I was messing with Emmett.
It's never slow on the dominoes.
And I was talking smack. And I'm not a dominoes player. I play cards, but I don't play dominoes like that.
Yeah.
I might play enough. I can sit around the family table. And I made the mistake of talking enough trash to Emmett. Mm-hmm. And he finally invited me to sit down. And the game, it was over like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was barely down.
Oh, he talking too the whole time, every domino, and then me.
So that was my domino experience. What was Bill Parcells' impact on you as a player?
I love Coach Parcells. I had a problem, and I understand me. I was never one to cause any problems. I always did what I was told. And so when Parcells comes in, him and Coach Zim kind of, I ain't gonna say they butted heads, but one came from a 3-4 background, one loved to run the 4-3. I was all for, 1,000% was all for 4-3 because that allowed me to be, basically in my element, you know. But when Parcells comes in, he's like, you're not gonna be a one-dimensional safety. We're gonna put you 14 yards deep, 2 yards inside the numbers, and it's just like, I'll do it, but it's just like, if the job is to put your players in the best position for your team to have the ultimate success, why put me so far back? I can do it, but I'm not gonna say that's my strong point. That's not something I wanted to do. I wanted to be 10 yards within the line of scrimmage and let me cause havoc. You know what I mean? But that wasn't the case. And, there were different scenarios where Zim would, have me just, get me out of that and have me come down. And it's just like, just go back and look at the tape. It's like, where did we have more? I'm not going to say we. Where did I have more success where I played on the football field? More turnovers happened when I was closer to the line of scrimmage. And I love Coach Parcells' hard way of coaching.
Right.
I respected the hell out of it because I had the same thing at OU with Coach Mike Stoops and Coach Venables and Coach Bob. So that didn't bother me. Actually, he pulled more out of me, which is great. I would say the only knock I would have against Coach Parcells is I wish we would have just talked and be like, hey, where do you feel more comfortable in playing? Which I thought that would have been cool, but I love Coach Parcells. I mean, he was a phenomenal coach. It's easy to play for a coach that is kind of upfront with you because he was upfront, hey, you need to do this, and he doesn't sugarcoat it. I love that about him.
For a while, because you guys actually didn't play together that long, you and Darren Woodson were probably the best safety tandem in the league.
We caused some havoc. We did. There's not, that's funny. I started smiling because I was thinking, man, Woody caught some friendly fire sometimes for me. But we flew around, man, and I had a great time with Woody, man. I would say probably one of my low points in my career was when Woody retired.
I was going to say, when I say that, he retired in 2004 and his back started hurting him in 2003. Mm-hmm. What was the best? Why did you all complement each other so well?
I think I was taking over what Woody used to do as far as being closer to the line of scrimmage, and Woody, I don't know, I'm only assuming, but it helped. It didn't help prolong his career because, he retired a year and a half later. But I felt that, Woody was being a ball hawk in the middle of the field. So I got to get down and dirty what Woody used to do, and he was like, go ahead, young fella, do your thing and let me be in the back. And so I felt that worked for us. I think that's how we complemented one another. And, Woody, I got so much strength in looking over to Woody and like, hey, I got to do this, right? He was like, do it. Just go do your thing. So, for 2002, 2003, we imposed our will. We truly did.
When he retired, what kind of emotions you felt?
I was like, damn. Because, when you're in it, you don't even process a guy leaving or retiring. You don't. It's like, I know next year it's gonna be me and you again.
Right.
That year came, it was like, you ain't
Where you at?
So it was tough because I loved and looked up to Woody, and I just that solid foundation of having such a seasoned veteran wasn't there anymore. And it's just like, that gets passed to who? Oh, me? No, I don't want to be that guy. I just want to go out, have fun. So it was a lot. It was some responsibilities on me, but we had some solid guys. We had Keith Davis, we had Lynn Scott, Tony Dixon. So we had guys that were already there and understood the system, but it was just tough because they kept on shuffling guys in and out, trying to figure out the right fix as far as who's going to be the safety that week or that year.
How come you guys didn't win the Super Bowl in 2007?
We fell short. We gave up that Amani Toomer. I think it was Amani Toomer, right? You talking about that game, Giants? So we battled hard, and it's just, you would like to say the game wasn't determined on one particular player or not, but that we had I think it was a short pass to somewhere. I think it was on their sideline, and we didn't make the tackle that we needed to make to stop Amani from scoring, and that prevented us from advancing to the next round of the playoffs, and that hurt. That sucked. I never sleep after games, win or loss, but that was all night to the morning deal.
Now, is that because you knew the talent on that team? Like, sometimes the season's in and you're like, that's a good season. They had, they did what they could, but some years you're like, it's much like this year for the Cowboys where you go, it was lined up for you to do that thing.
Yeah.
And even if you lose, if you play a great game, you can kind of live with it.
You can live with it if it was a hard-fought battle and the team just won. You know? But we were stacked. We had a hell of a team. I think we sent 13 people to the Pro Bowl.
That's why I asked
we had a phenomenal team. It's just, I don't even know the whole. I remember that play because I've seen a picture of it like within the last couple of months. So I really wish I can say I remember like why we lost. I'll be honest.
When I ask you that, I'm really talking about a feeling, not necessarily like a play.
Well, the feeling of it is, that was just a wasted bunch of talent that season. Honestly, that was it. We squandered away an opportunity that we had just like put on a platter for us because we had a loaded team. Offense was stacked, defense was stacked, phenomenal guys. And so, but I would say, because I think 2006 was Parcells' last season. Yeah. So I feel that we had some of the discipline left over, the residue from what Parcells instilled, and then you have Coach Wade coming in, and he had that happy-go-lucky type feeling, not really holding anybody accountable. So I felt that 2007 season, we rode off of the old regime, and then when it came to nut-cutting time, I feel that it got squandered away because it wasn't, the accountability wasn't really forced upon us.
Give me an example of what you're talking about.
I feel that, like I said, the old regime, Coach Parcells, every situation was mapped out. And honestly, I seen something years ago, and it talked about, reverted back to a time what Parcells said in training camp. There's going to be a time where this happens, where we're going to be running these plays, and we're going to need it, and you guys need to be held accountable, and you need to make these plays. And I think it was the Giants, when we played the Giants in New York, where Quincy Carter threw a pass to, it was like a post corner, and he threw it to Antonio Bryant, and he caught it, and then we had a rush on the field and kicked the field goal.
Right.
Like, those situations happen. Like, situations that happened in 2007, like, I think we would have been well prepared if we had the old regime in there, because there was no foresight on situational awareness, and in games when these situations happen, are you ready for them? And we weren't ready.
Now let me tell y'all something. Me and Roy ain't always been able to sit here and chat like this.
No.
See the laugh right there? We ain't always been like this. So let's talk about this.
Okay.
So I believe it was 2008, and I was a beat writer, and I was a columnist by then for the Cowboys. And
He was something.
I was something. The years, as Roy sits here and struggles with things sometimes, the years kind of run together because I've been doing this for a minute.
For real, it's been a minute.
And we did this every year. We did a mid-season report. And I did the mid-season report that year. And it talks about, here's where the Cowboys are at the mid-season. Here's the grades we give them. And so this particular year, there were categories like this guy deserves a raise, this guy is earning his paycheck, this guy needs to give some money up, and this guy needs to donate his money to charity. Those are basically the categories as I remember. Now, the way I did this is not just me sitting down going, oh, let me think. I would put a list together. I'd get the roster. I'd look at the stats. I'd do my own observation, what I think. And then I'd talk to some coaches and stuff. Hey, what do you think about how this guy's playing, how this guy's playing, how this guy's playing, whatever. And back in those days, and I did this, I called Jerry. And I say, hey, I'm putting this list together. Here's what I've got them. Is anybody out of place? Like, severely out of place. And sometimes, some years he might go, hey, I don't know about that, Jock. And I might switch it around. And then I'd run it past Rich Dalrymple, the PR guy at the time. And I say, hey, what do you think about my list? So what I did this year is I did all of those things, and I'll never forget this. We got a proof of it. So I'm in the office. We got a proof of it, and I look at it. And I literally said, I go, you know what? This list is good, but ain't nobody going to talk about it because everybody is where you think they would be. So I said, I should move some guys around, at least just to start a conversation. And so I would just move them one level here or there. Well, I'm pretty sure I moved Roy to should donate his money to charity. And I moved some other guys around. So it comes out in the paper the next day, and I walk in the locker room, and the first thing that happens is Andre Gerard, I believe, comes and takes a picture of me with a Polaroid or something. And I'm like, what are you doing? He said, you'll find out. And then he disappeared. And I'm not sure anything else eventful happened that day. But the next day I walked in the locker room, there's an 8x10 typewritten letter with my picture above it. I can't really tell y'all all the things that was in that letter. I thought Mr. Williams had something to do with it. I didn't know what he had to do with it, but I felt like he had something to do with it. And that was a very eventful day, as I had words with several players that day. And what happened is the Dallas Observer ended up writing an article about it. And John Gonzalez interviewed me. And I mean, it was a whole big to-do that I use as a teaching tool now in my class at SMU, because the mistake that I made was, what did I first say? I said, the list is pretty good. And it wasn't enough for me. I wanted people to talk about it. So I moved some guys around. Instead, I should have just left it like it was. Now, what did you do when you saw that story?
I didn't see the story.
Well, who told you about it?
You just told me right now.
Oh.
I didn't know that there was another story on top of.
You didn't know the story behind the story.
I didn't know the story behind the story.
Go ahead, man.
It's not. There's no go ahead. It's like trying to relive that moment, and it's just like it was around 2008, and people don't know. It's like, even though I'm living out like a dream, like I was living a dream. Like being able to play for the Cowboys, and actually freaking Cowboys. I was playing in the NFL, a dream that I had when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, and which at a time that's supposed to be so magical, I was going through so much hell. So when I felt like my only safe haven was to be able to go play football and do something that I loved, and for that to be getting attacked by this specimen right here, I felt a certain way, because it's like, man, you have no clue what I'm going through. And I was so tight-lipped that no one knew. I felt like, man, you have no freaking clue what's going on in my life right now. And it's just like, shit's crumbling, and you're just adding on to that, and I'm trying to hold it together, and I'm about to explode, But so there was more to the backstory of your story, because there was so much going on in my world that I was too embarrassed to even, divulge and say what's going on. So, but yes, there was an article that was painted a kind of a bad picture of myself and a couple of my other teammates. Wish you would have got that approved, but you didn't. And so there's a cause and effect. So the cause was Mr. Jock's article, and then the effect was he had an article written about him. And I'm not going to say who all played a part in it, but I'm telling you right now, it was a lot of hands that touched it. And Rich was pissed. Oh, Rich Delriff was pissed off that he's, and it wasn't just one. It was posted all over the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
So when the writers, reporters, they come in, they open up the curtains, and on every beam in the locker room, there were posts.
My story.
His story. And he got graded just like he graded us. And so that's honestly the point of the story. And it was a good chuckle. It was a good chuckle, but we heard about it for damn sure after that.
Now it was I was not really upset. And here's why. One is, if you criticize athletes, you have to show up. Because some people, Skip Bayless comes to mind, criticize people, they never see him. I was
Houdini.
I was literally taught that if you write something critical, you have to show up the next day and take whatever it is that the athletes want to serve you, because you serve them publicly, so you got to come in and take it publicly.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't mad about that. Now I ain't gonna sit here and tell you I liked what was said. That was not the case, but I just kind of charged it to the game. But what it did is it taught me a very valuable lesson, which is, and I preach about it all the time when I'm talking to young journalists, you can never forget that they're not athletes. They're people. Mm-hmm. Like, for real, they're people now. And they're doing a job, which is to play football. My job was to cover them. And so, once you remember that they're people and not athletes, you look at them, you write with them, you talk to them, you interact with them in a whole different level, because they're people. They're no different than you in a lot of respects. I'll tell this quick story real quick. One reason me and Deion Sanders vibed is I was talking to him one day on the phone, and he said, "Hey, hold up a second." He's screaming at his kid. Mm-hmm. And he got back and forth. He said, "I'm back." I started laughing. I said, "Dog, you ain't no different than me."
Yeah.
I just got through yelling at mine before I got on the phone. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean by they're people. Now, you've written a book, and we're going to get into the book. Mm-hmm. Although you can tell the people the name of the book now.
It's called Unmovable. Lessons from a Broken Superman.
And it's coming out in May. What was going on in 2007 that I didn't know about?
Oh, when your article came out?
Yeah. When it talks about giving your money to charity.
Actually, that's another. But no, so I got involved. Well, a gentleman that used to work for me, and it's a long story. But I used to date someone that wanted security, and so I got security. Went our separate ways from the person I was dating at the time, but I kept the guy that was working for me, or working for us at the time, on as a personal assistant, right, doing security or whatever. Which I didn't even need security, but he turned out to do more things, like my day to day, all that stuff. And so he got me involved with, or he put me in front of two guys that were doing real estate in Dallas. And so I invested with them, but I was a sole guarantor, not them. It was me. So we were building some houses over Highland Park. They had some houses in Highland Park area. And then the whole 2008 hit, but at the same time, I didn't know that, I'm playing ball. So when they're taking withdrawals, they're taking my money, so they're taking withdrawals from the account, which I guess they were signees on it. I know now that, I basically signed over all my rights to my nest egg, my capital. And so when the 2008 financial crash was hit, all those notes called due. So I had, all the money that basically I had to my name, and the money that signing bonuses or whatnot, it all had to go to that to pay off creditors. And so I was dealing with that, like windfall. So knowing that you have X in the bank, and now a few months later after that hits, all of it's going away. All of it, like just all, you got to pay this one, you got to pay this one. So that's what was going on in 2007, 2008.
How did you manage to keep your focus on the field?
That was my only safe place. Because every time I stepped on the football field, I always reverted back to my days growing up in California and just remembering why you're doing this. You're doing it because you just love the game and being around, people that you love, and you share the same passion for tackling somebody or, catching that pigskin.
I ask everybody this. What is it that you loved about the game?
Honestly, I love the camaraderie. I literally loved, being on a team sport, it makes you appreciate people from any background of life. It all brings you together. And it helped me cope with any anxieties that I had as far as being on a new team or whatever. I always knew that we all shared the same goal, and we loved to play the game of football. And so that was my peace. That was my sanity. That's where I just, that was it for me. So being able to have the same passion that everyone else had, it really calmed me and eased me whenever I showed up, at the Valley Ranch. It's not Valley Ranch anymore, but Valley Ranch.
Right.
And so that's what made me happy about football.
Can you find it elsewhere? Have you been able to find it anywhere else?
I find it now through my kids. My oldest, Layla, she plays tennis. And then my second, Madison, she plays volleyball. And then my son, he does like 3 sports right now, and it's just crazy. But yes, I find it through that because it's it's funny because I tell my daughter, she had this one match, and this girl, and she was in a tiebreaker, and before the tiebreaker starts, you get an opportunity, but the coach wasn't there, so I went down to talk to my daughter, and I just told her, I said, do you see what she's doing? She was like, no, Dad, what do you mean? I said, she's slamming her, like she's getting mad at herself. She's slamming her racket. I said, she's self-destructing. I said, just get the ball over the net and let her self-destruct and mess up. And I said some other choice words to my daughter because that's just who I am. I'm right. Passionate. I don't care if my kids lose. I care if they don't compete at the level that they can. So that's just how I am. So I just, I had some choice words for my daughter as far as picking her up and letting her know it's okay. And so tiebreaker happens. She's playing. And that girl's just self-destructing, can't get the ball over the net, and my daughter ended up winning, right? And I just told her, I went up to her and I just said, see, your dad, I said, even though I never played this sport, I said, I know what I'm talking about, and you might want to start listening.
Your kids never saw you play?
No, they didn't.
We're sitting in a room with all your accolades, which is fantastic. Do they have any idea that you were that dude at one point?
I honestly, I was just one of the, is it 32-man football team? 32. I was one of the 32 on the team that got to play on the football field. And that's how I look at myself. I don't look at myself, I was this guy, that guy. No, I was fortunate enough to be able to play in the NFL for 9 years, and I had a good time doing it. And my kids know, they now see it when we go up to the University of Oklahoma and people are like, oh, Roy this, Roy that. But it's just like, nah, I'm dad to them. And I love that because there are times when you're like, man, I wish my kids would have got to see me. Like, for instance, like Jason Witten, he had his kids where his kids got to see him. And who else had? Keith Davis, he had kids that got to see him play and all that. And it's just like, man, that would have been cool. But I'm so happy I didn't have kids because at that particular time, because I wouldn't have them. My kids are now seeing me on the rebound. I would have hated for my kids to have to go through that dark time with me from 2008 to maybe 2016, 17.
Why was it dark?
It was dark because everything that I held at that I considered valuable, like the whole money deal, that shit was gone. It was gone, like gone. So it's just like my house that I had in Colleyville, had to sell it in a short sale. They got a hell of a deal on the house. They did, 1,000%. It's crazy because probably about 7 years ago, they were like, oh man, we bought your house in Colleyville. We love it. And I'm just like, you're welcome. You know what I mean? I mean, not knowing that, you know, that was hard to let go or whatever, but I mean, it had to be done. Vehicles, gone. Like, I mean, I'm so simplistic now. Like, it's amazing. You know, but, you know, all the things that you think you're supposed to have or you should have, it's like, nah, it really don't matter. I mean, you can have all the vehicles, you can only drive one at a time. You know what I mean? So it's just, there was a lot of growing up that happened in that process, and a lot of, you know, and I say dark times because it was just like, they were dark. I mean, think of anything that can happen when you lose all the liquidity in your name and you don't have a pot to piss in. Like, think of that. And me happy that my kids didn't have to go through that.
How did you get through it? Because that's a long time, bro.
It was a long time. It was a long time. There was a lot of so I got through it because I was fortunate enough to Mike Zimmer. Now he's back with the Cowboys, but right. Zim went to Cincinnati, and so I played 2 years in Cincinnati, right? And I was able enough to put some cash away, even though, I mean, it wasn't much. So I did that, and then when I moved back to Dallas for a little bit. I had a house in Cedar Hill, sold it, and then I hightailed it back to Oklahoma because I always wondered, to be honest, why professional athletes move. Well, it's not all, but some guys move back to their college towns. And I had an opportunity. I seen Eddie George. I went to Columbus, and Eddie had restaurants. He had real estate stuff. So it was just always imprinted in my mind, like, you know what? When it's all said and done, I'm gonna move back to Oklahoma, because I felt like I did everything right, and I kept my name clean. And so when I was done, and honestly, it was crazy. I had a huge epiphany. I was in Cedar Hill, and I'm just looking. I was in the house and I was just looking up, and I felt like it was just a dark cloud over me in Dallas. I was like, I have to get out of here. And so I moved back to Oklahoma, and I started off, I did sideline reporting. Can't even say I liked it because I wasn't myself. Right. I mean, I think they got mad at me because I said, oh man, that was a hell of a play. You can't say that. What do you mean I can't say that? I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me. And so my cousin, he is a plumber, and so I was talking to him one day, and he was like, man, what are you going to do? And I was like, man, I have no clue. I said, I think I want to get a real estate property and try to get some rental income or something. He was like, well, you need to meet my business partner. I met my business partner now, Bill, at one of his properties, which it was immaculate. He sold it, but he since has sold it, but it was immaculate. And he asked me, we're in the middle of the street, and he was like, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know, maybe get an investment property or own something. I want to be in business. And literally he was like, then I asked him, I said, what are you doing? What's your next move? And he was like, well, I had a security company before, and I had a falling out with my business partner and thinking about getting back in the security business. And literally the Most High put it in my heart to ask. He was like, speak, Roy. And I was like, well, do you want another business partner? And Bill was like, kind of hesitant. And then I told him the story about folks I got involved with the real estate stuff and how they did me bad and all this stuff. And we met about 7 or 8 different times. And every time he asked me to do something, by the time he got to his car, it was already done on what he wanted me to complete or do. And so the way he tells it is he ran out of excuses why we couldn't be business partners. And I get his reservation as far as wanting to be in partnership with me, because he was like, I don't want no self-entitled athlete thinking, all this stuff. And I'm the furthest from that type of person. And so we started Global Security in 2012. We started billing our first client January 1, 2013. And honestly, the first 10 months, we grew 1,600%.
Wow.
So, and we haven't looked back since. We've been in business now, I want to say almost 12 years now. And it's crazy. Let me tell you how crazy it is. So I'm not going to say the person's name, but there was a guy from a rival college that played at Oklahoma State. And this is when I can go so much more depth. So when I was doing sideline reporting, when I moved to Oklahoma, there was a TV show called Storage Wars. And I was like, man, that dude Barry is so cool. The older gentleman, very so cool, but very well polished. I was like, I called a guy that used to help book and get gigs. I told him, I was like, dude, I want to get on this show, right? And they were like, so he contacted them and they're like, okay, well, here's the deal. He can do this one. He can go to LA and film one show, or he can join the spinoff with Storage Wars Texas. And I was like, well, let's do the spinoff, And so literally I started doing that, and people don't know, it's like I'm doing it because I'm nosy as hell, and I like to look through people. I like to look through people's stuff. So
right.
I was doing it for that. But the checks weren't bad either. They were paying me like $6,000 just to show up. And if I bought a locker or if I didn't buy a locker.
Right.
So I mean, I was doing that because that was supplementing some of my income and helping me, right? And so fast forward to me talking about the Oklahoma State guy. He pulls me, he wanted to do these football camps for young kids. I love kids. I love to give back. I feel that my legacy will live on in the people's lives that I impact. So I wanted to be a part of this, right? So he was like, but it's going to cost some money. And I was like, all right, look. So I don't have much to give, but I had enough to, get this off the floor and running. So I give him, I don't say it was like $30,000, right? Right. The first thing he does with that check was pay his back mortgages on his house, and then sends his wife on a trip, I think to Hawaii or something. So at the time I met Bill, my business partner, he came to me and was like, yo, all right, we're thinking about we're going to start global security, but we're going to need $150,000 from each of us, right? To start our company. And I was like, yo, I can't do 150. I said, but I'm probably sure I can get 70, right? And so I had, I think I had $45,000 in liquidity in cash at the time. And then I had to go through arbitration and sue the guy from Oklahoma State to get the rest of the money. And when he finally, so basically, long story short, I had to sue dude. We settled. I didn't get everything that I was supposed to get, but I had enough to give my $75,000 to start Global. Wow. And so we started Global off of our 75 apiece, and that's how we started Global Security. And that was the last money that I had in my pocket.
I was going to ask you if it was whether not the Oklahoma State guy, but Bill. Was it hard to want to go into business with somebody else after your previous?
It really wasn't, because my cousin referred him and he said Bill's a very stand-up and solid guy. So I had no reservations. One would think like, man, why would you do that? That was a leap of faith. That was probably stupid, but so it felt like a breath of fresh air, and it felt organic and real.
When you going through that stuff, how do you keep your ego in check? Because some of this is ego driven in terms of I don't have.
Great question, but I never had a problem with my ego. I mean, even during your time, my time in Dallas, I'm actually, have I ever seemed like I was a guy that was like, oh, this and that?
Oh no,
because that wasn't me. I've never been that guy. I mean, because you gotta understand, I felt that I had way too many humble beginnings to be acting that way, because somebody could have pulled my card and be like, hey, do this, and be like, embarrass me. So I always was one to always like, nah, I'm not going to be that guy. There were moments that I had like, dude, I'm first round draft pick, and all this. But I don't feel that I never crapped on anybody, because that just wasn't, that's just not me.
I mean more your personal ego, not the ego that other people see.
You know what? I mean, my ego's been bruised so much. I've been called so many different names. I've been this and I've been that, but I'm going to always be who I am. And I'm never going to be one that, thinks he's better than somebody or whatever. I'm always I'm always the person that like trying to I'm still always trying to navigate my life and how I move, but I never cared about how people really viewed me. I haven't. I mean, everybody does feel like, I deserve this. I'm better than this person, whatever. But when when you're seasoned and you lived a lot, you'll understand there's always going to be somebody that looks better than you, somebody that's always going to be taller than you, somebody that's always going to have more money than you and all this. And you understand, you be comfortable in who you are.
When did you emerge from the darkness?
I'm still emerging. I'm not where I want to be. I'm still battling to get out of the hole that I put myself in.
What did you learn about yourself while you were going through this, or while you're going through this?
Honestly, that regardless of what comes against me, as long as it doesn't take me out, I still got a fighting chance to get out of any situation that I'm in or I put myself in. There's always a way out.
In your book, you talk about growing up with dyslexia, which, of course, I didn't know. And you haven't shared with very many people at all.
Wouldn't.
Why did you decide to write a book and share that?
So it's crazy. So I'm in a business group called YPO, Young's Presidents Association. It's in every country and in the U.S. So it's business owners that have a certain specific amount of money that they make, not personally, but the business, their annual gross is over 10 or 15 million, whatever it is. Then you got to have an employee count. I think it's over 10 or 50 employees. And there's not, to be honest, it's really not here in Oklahoma. There's not many African Americans. Let's just be honest. I think now there is 2. So, right. But so a buddy of mine I played ball with, actually Trent Smith. He played tight end for OU, and then I think he went on to 49ers and Ravens. He's in it, and he asked me to be a part of it, and I was like, dude, I don't want to feel like I'm the only one. but I did, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, I've gotten like valuable information from being in my group of, I have 6 guys, all other business owners do phenomenally well in their businesses. But one of the guys, Rod, I called earlier, after, hearing my story, because, it's like we do deep dives and we talk about some intimate stuff. And it's like the guys that you're in your forum with, it's like, that reminds me of the locker room. Mm-hmm. So I'm being open and honest to them. And I told them my story and stuff with my dad and stuff with, my business, my downfalls, pitfalls that I did, the real estate stuff in Dallas. And Rod was just compelled to come up to me after one of our forum meetings. We have every Monday, first Monday of every month. And so he came up to me after one of the meetings and was like, man, Roy, I've been wanting to write a book, but the Most High has really put it in my heart to promote you and you do the book. And he was like, what do you think? And I was like, can I think about it? Because I'm so guarded. I don't like to let people know. Like, what? Why not? Because I don't like to open up. I don't like to open up and let people know that all the shit that I've been through. It was a lot that I went through. And I was finally to the point of, you know what, fine, let's do it. I'll share it. But, I just be real. Like, people watching this, whoever sees it, understand that, like, I was one decision away from making a 30 for 30. And that's honest truth. So if this global, my company now failed, yeah, they could have easily done a 30 for 30 of blowing through your money, stupid athlete, all the acronyms or asterisks that come up with a lot of my fellow compadres that have played in the National Football League and other sporting teams. I was close.
What do you
stumped you?
No, it's interesting when you talk about it like that, because at one level, the way you framed it, stupid athlete, da-da-da. But if you look back at how you said it, it wasn't necessarily stupidity. Mm-hmm. It was bad business decisions.
Yeah.
Or, you signed over, whether it was a power attorney or whatever, because you trusted people. But I think people view it differently than if you got I don't know if you blowing it at a strip club or if you.
Yeah, for sure.
They just view it differently. But I get what you're saying.
But there's negative connotation from
Yes.
athletes because there are a lot of people that fantasize and dream to get an NFL paycheck, and they can't fathom how someone can lose that, and then they paint that, that negative picture of they were dumb, they were wasteful, they were this and that. And it was just my situation is I just trusted that somebody had good intentions for me partnering up and getting a real estate portfolio going and, selling and flipping homes, but they didn't have those intentions. They had intentions of, stash and grab, and that's what happened in that situation.
Let me ask you a question. I have a way where I'm thinking about it this way. Is dyslexia, did that end up being a gift?
No, because it wasn't. And what content do you mean? Was it a gift or not?
Because as I was thinking about it, I was like, now nobody wants to go through it. But dyslexia taught you, once you figured out what it was, taught you perseverance.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, ultimately it got you to OU in a roundabout way.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It didn't get my aunt helped orchestrate me going to OU. That was, I passed my ACT. I was going to go to UCLA. My good buddy Damien was going to go to Stanford.
Right.
And then he blew out his knee. Stanford took back the scholarship. I had an opportunity where Bob Toledo, he was the UCLA head coach. He was like, hey, go enjoy your visits. So I went on a visit to Cal Berkeley, which I knew I was never going to go there because it was like they're all academics. And I was like, man, I barely passed my goddamn ACT. So I know for a fact I ain't going to UCLA or Cal. So, but I asked the coach at the time, I was like, yo, if you want me to come, I want you to bring my buddy. They're like, we don't want him. I said, I'm not coming here. And so my aunt talked to the whole deal with the coaches and all that, and then that prompted how I got to OU.
Your most famous play at OU is the Superman play.
Yeah.
Where you don't follow the coach's directions. Mm-hmm. Take us through that play.
It's funny. Hold on, before I go to the play, it's funny because when I did the autograph show where I was like, oh, I wanted to meet Sherman, some person wanted an inscription. It signed my name and put "Don't jump." So I signed it, did everything, and I took a picture and I sent it to Coach Mike Stoops, my coach, and he was like, "Man, I'm so glad you don't listen to me." So OU, Texas. Here we are, fourth quarter. I think they had like maybe 5 minutes left, 3, whatever it was. So our offense, it was a battle. It was a defensive battle. Our offense lined up for a field goal. Nathan Vasher, our greatest teammate, I say. We pooch punt. We fake a field goal. Tim Nelson kicks the ball, and Nathan Vasher fields it on the 2-yard line. It was a TV timeout, and actually before that, earlier in that quarter, there was a blitz play, a Slam Dogs blitz, and I took the wrong angle. And the hole opened up, and I see Brett Robin at the last minute, so I try to jump over him, and he hits me in the groin, right? On fire. Injury to insult is I started limping after Chris Sims, and then the offensive lineman comes sideswipes me from the side. So, I was feeling it. When you talk about feeling hits, I felt every one of those. And so we do the push punt. Nathan Vasher fields the ball. It's a TV timeout. And Coach Mike comes up to me and was like, hey, Roy, we're going to call Slam Dogs. Do not leave your feet, right? He said it to me about 3 or 4 times. I was like, all right, Coach, I got it. But people don't understand, like, how much film study I used to do with Coach Mike. It's like, it was unmatched. Like, I would bet no one put as much time as I did in film study with Coach Mike. 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm there until my first class. And then after all my classes are done, I'm back in there before practice and sometimes after practice.
You just loved it?
Goes back to dyslexia. I was more of, I needed to visualize and see it to actually do it. And that's why I was nonstop. That's why I was always in there with him. Because, he can spit out a play and I'm just not picking it up. But when he says a play and I'm watching it on the field and we're replaying it and keep watching it, then I can pick it up and I get it. So he's like, all right, we're calling it don't jump. But then I revert back to, okay, the hole's going to open up. We're on the 2-yard line. Brett Robin, maybe 5'6", if I'm being nice. he's not going to hit you high. If he tries to hit me high, I'm going to run over him and I'm going to blow up the play that way. So I knew that he was going to try to cut block me. And I was like, the only way for me to get to Chris Sims the fastest is to leave my feet. So I'm thinking, okay, here we go. And actually, if you watch the replay, I go up to the line because I misjudge it. Then I back up and then I was like, this is it. I'm going for it, right? Hikes the ball, leave my feet, and I'm like, please just make this damn play. Because if I don't, coach is going to bury me underneath this stadium. So I make the play, hit the ball with my right hand, flutters up, falls in Teddy Lehman's hands. He walks it in, game over. And it's funny because people don't understand that after that play, I'm on kickoff. So I'm literally beelining to kickoff, like trying to not see Coach Mike Stoops because he just told me not to jump. I don't care. Here's the deal. Even though I made the play, he still don't care. He still want to talk to me about me leaving my feet, right? So we do kickoff. And then the very first play from Texas, they throw the ball, and I'm against the other Roy, and I get the interception. And I'm like, shit. Because what's that mean? I got to go to the sideline. So I'm going to the sideline, and Coach Mike is looking right at me, puts his arm around me. He's shaking like I told you not to fucking jump. And then he just pushes me, and I was like, oh, shit. Right. So that's the whole don't jump thing. That's the story behind it.
I love it. How would you describe the Texas OU rivalry? And was there anything in the NFL close?
I wish that I could have made college a professional career for myself.
What do you mean?
I felt like it meant more in college than it did in the NFL. I feel that I can't say I love Sooner Nation. I love Cowboy Nation, phenomenal fan bases. But it's like you're appreciated and loved. I feel that you're appreciated and loved more in college because I think they understand the struggle of being a student athlete and then going out there performing, and their loyalty stands the test of time. I mean, Cowboy fans, I don't even have social media anymore, so it don't even matter. But I feel that, it's like if something go bad, oh, F you. You're no good. Cut them, type deal. You can't do that in college. Like this is our squad. This is who we rolling with. NFL, it's a little different. It's just, it's different. It's a different beast. It's a different beast. And so I wish I could have had a career in college, just because I felt that there's a lot of, I'm gonna be honest. I feel that there's a lot of situations that got put on me that wasn't even my fault. And it got me deemed as a person that couldn't do certain things. Would I say I was the best cover person? No, but I could cover. And I feel that I got the whole Roy can't cover because of the Washington Redskins game. That's one game. And by the way, do you know what it was called? Do you know who I really had in that coverage? No.
It wasn't Santana Moss.
It wasn't Santana Moss. It was Chris Cooley that went over 10 yards, where in my rules is I have him over 10 yards. But I seen that they weren't even tripping off Chris Cooley, but I had to at least act like I was going that way. And actually the last play I took off. Santana Moss is fashion, man. Let's just be real. But that still wasn't my man. But that game, because we had the lead and we gave it up, which was not my fault, but, oh, you're the deep safety. And actually I wasn't. I was a quarter safety, and I had the tight end that went straight 12 yards, past 10 yards, and he knows I have him. So that pulls me out of the quote unquote the middle, and he scores. And it's just like that one play, Cowboy Nation was like, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. And I'm just like, and it was written in the papers, oh, Roy gave up a touchdown. And it's like, people never even ask. And there were times when I was on Shockey where my rules, because we had the whole rules, my assignment, my rules were outside. Like, don't let him cross your face. You're outside in, you have him. But if he does a slant, as long as he doesn't beat you outside, you're good. Right? Like how much, so I'm like, all right, I can't get beat outside. So you lay heavy outside, and so if he goes in, then you just got to try to get over his body, and try to knock the ball or whatever. But it's just like people don't know that. But it's like, I'm the bad guy because I'm doing my responsibilities. But I was more frustrated with the fact that no coaches said, the coaching staff at the time didn't say a damn word. Like, you know, that wasn't even Roy's responsibility. Or, you know, explain in depth of what it was like. Where's my covering? You know, I was like, so going back to the whole 07, 08, it's just like, it was miserable. It was miserable because it's like, dude, it's like I love my teammates, but it's like the coaches ain't even like speaking up. You know, they're all happy to be there and they're happy that they got their, you know, their jobs, but it's just like, dude, we filmed Hard Knocks in 2007, I think it was.
I think so.
It was 2007. Wade's first year, Coach Wade's first year. I'll say this, because I try not to indulge in tell people, you know, inside business, but I'll just say this. Some of the plays that we got beat on, we as a secondary unit asked about those plays, and they never got back to us as far as how we were going to defend and cover it.
You talking about throughout the season?
Again, there were plays that we talked about that we got beat on in games that never got discussed on how we were going to cover it throughout the season. Don't make sense, right?
No.
It don't make sense. Who's out there on the football field? We are.
Yes.
Who's going to get the blame? We are. So when we're over here asking questions like, hey, how are we going to cover this? This is a switch beater. How are we going to cover it? Oh, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, they never get back.
Exactly. And then so when it happens in the game, it's like, oh, so are we hoping that they don't run this against this coverage so we don't look like we're getting exposed? So, I mean, it's crazy. Because there's so much I can talk about as far as my time, like, especially towards the tail end of Dallas. It's just like, man, it's just, things weren't done right.
Well, see, that's a good segue, because when I saw you today, I saw about this 12-inch scar on your arm from when you broke your forearm. Mm-hmm. And you missed, I think it was like the last 12 games of 08. And that's your last time in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then you only played 2 more seasons after that. Mm-hmm. And then I think you were hurt your first year in Cincinnati.
I was.
What happened to you in Cincinnati?
No, let's revert back to Dallas. Let's go back there. So my first was against Philadelphia Eagles. I was on kickoff.
Right.
Clean break on the kickoff. I tackled the guy, and I seen it wobble, right? I seen my arm wobble, and I was like, it's broke. I knew because, I mean, I've seen a lot of, let's just say I've seen a lot of broken right. legs and ankles and all that. So and when I, see it wobble, I'm like, I know what that is, right? So I seen that to my arm. And so I was like, I went over there and seen Britt and Jim and those guys, Jake, and I was just like, it might be broke. Something was wrong. It feels off. But I went back in and played like 1 or 2 plays, and I was like, it's hurt. So I go get the X-ray, clean break, I ended up with 11 or 13 screws in my arm and 2 plates. So the first plate had a couple of screws in it, whatever, and had the little bone healing machine on it. Did everything, to try to get back for the loyalty of the organization and the team, right? And so it's time to play, right? What do you think should be on my arm?
Some kind of cast.
Some kind of cast. They put a fucking soccer shin guard on my arm and heavily taped it, and thinking that was going to do something. So here we are. We're playing St. Louis. We had Zach Thomas.
Right.
Zach Thomas is where I'm playing. I'm going in for a tackle. Zach Thomas hangs onto the guy. He's swinging, and I'm coming in to try to help finish it off. He kicks my arm, breaks it again, butterflies it, drops. At the end of the bone, on the radius, it butterfly, and the bone dropped. They didn't know that. I didn't know that. But the lady was like, we're just going to cast you up, and send you on your way. And so she was like, hey, turn your arm. And I was like, ma'am, I said, I can't turn my arm. And she was like, stop being a big baby, and so she's trying to turn it, and I'm like, I can't turn it, and I started crying because it was hurting so bad. So they did a new X-ray, and they seen that my bone dropped. When you look at an X-ray, it's a clean, like you can see in between the line. You can't. Right. So that bone was up, and this bone was down, and seeing that, that's why you can't turn your wrist. Jeez. So yeah, after that, actually 2008, I was inducted into my high school's Hall of Fame, first player. So I was there with the cast. But yeah, I mean, there was nothing for me to do. So I went out and I always asked the organization, like the training staff, hey, my high school's honoring me, whatever. And so I was done in Dallas. And there was no talks as far as restructuring my deal, any of that, nothing. And I thought it sucked because I did any and everything that the organization and the Jones family asked me to do. So Salvation Army stuff, handing out meals throughout Arlington, Texas to show the community aspect and what we can bring there, doing all that, going to the town hall meetings that they had right by the ballpark, I think at that hotel, doing those, like doing all the PR stuff. And for them to cut me the year before, or not even a year, I mean, they cut me before they went into the new stadium. I thought that was like, man, that's effed up. I've said this before, but I thought it was messed up that they haven't even kept their word that they said they were going to keep. When Jerry and Steven called me to say, hey, they're going to let me go, which I felt that they already knew that they were going to let me go. Why don't you just let me go at the beginning of free agency so I can try to get a better deal, So no, tail end of it, not even tail end, the cookie crumbles. The crumbles.
Crumb part.
So whatever. But, Jerry called and was like, hey, is there anything we can do for you? I said, yeah, Jerry. I said, I appreciate my time here. I loved it. It was amazing. But I said, when it's all said and done, I want to come back and retire as a Cowboy.
That's in my list of questions.
Have I retired as a Cowboy?
No.
Exactly. And it's been 2011. I've called. I went to Woody's Ring of Honor.
Right.
And I literally was like face to face like this to Jerry. I said, hey, I thought you said you're going to. I don't even remember when Woody's Ring of Honor was. But it did feel like a freaking away game for the Cowboys, how many freaking 49er fans were in there. But I went up to him and I was like, hey, I thought you were going to let me retire as a Cowboy. Oh, we haven't done that yet. And so I say that just to say, like, man, I just felt like I got the raw end of the deal. Because I'm not, by no means am I begging. Like, because I've said, I even told Todd Williams, I just said, dude, it's to the point now I feel like I'm begging you guys, F that. Like, I'm cool, whatever. We don't have to do nothing. Cool. But I'm just getting it off my chest because I felt like I gave 7 years of myself to this organization and done everything right by you guys, for you guys, to keep the brand, held right. And so, but I was like, I feel like I'm begging. Fast forward to Cincinnati, which they had a titanium plate for me.
All right.
Padded, and then we heavily taped it. I didn't feel nothing. And so, nothing. So, we were at a walkthrough practice, like literally a walkthrough, right? And I was like, oh, we're just walking through, we're not going to do anything. Like, so we're walking through practice, and the tight end gets a chase, gets a ball thrown out to him. And, when you're in practice, you simulate like you're going to break down and tackle a person, and he hits my arm. Breaks at the edge of where the plate is. And that's how I missed my first year in Cincinnati. I was balling too at the beginning of the season. I mean, I had like 30-something tackles. I had, I think, an interception at that point. I mean, I was like...
Well, Zimmer's using you the way you needed to be used.
I was getting down. You know what I mean? So that was tough. And then Coach Zimmer was like, anytime you step on this effing field, that plate better be on your goddamn arm. And I was like, I get it, Coach. Like, because, I mean, it's like, dude, I was like, you don't think anything would happen at a walkthrough, but it did.
When did you know it was time to retire?
2011, it wasn't fun. Like, it literally was not fun anymore. Like, all the butterflies that I used to get, like, oh man, I'm in the NFL, all that faded. And, the rule changes, like the 8 different variations of the horse collar tackle. I mean, I kind of got tired of that, man. It was just like, dude, this sucks. Like, I can't do anything. It's like being a plumber and getting some stuff taken off your utility belt and saying you got to go do the job without these tools. And it wasn't fun anymore for me.
Did you instantly know one day, or was it a slow thing? You just like, eh.
No, I knew when I was It's funny. I knew. Oh boy, did I know. I think 3 weeks, probably a month before the season was even over, like my whole apartment was cleaned out.
Oh, you knew.
I knew. Well, I was like, I'm done. So I mean, right when the season was over, I don't even think I did my exit interview. I just hit the road and burnt off and went to Dallas.
What's Royce Williams' football legacy?
I don't know. I think my legacy is up. He played. That's how I feel. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what my legacy is. I think he's one of the players that played 9 years in the NFL. You know, I don't know. Honestly, I would love to say what my legacy is, but
is that because you never looked at the game like that? The way you've been saying, you just looked at it as I played it, I enjoyed it.
Maybe, but I don't know how I was viewed when I played professionally. I know how I was viewed when I played collegiately. I don't know how I was viewed when I was playing professional football. I don't know. So I don't know what my legacy is. I know without a shadow of a doubt, I hold my own. I can say that. But outside of that, I don't know what my legacy is.
Let me tell you, for a period of time, he was the baddest 12-letter cuss word out there. That's his legacy.
But okay,
that's what it is.
But
I'm looking.
I just feel how everything was left.
You feel unfulfilled.
I won't even say unfulfilled. There's an uncertainty for me of what I accomplished in Dallas, because I don't feel like that loop was closed the proper way. Cincinnati, I shouldn't even been to Cincinnati. That's how I truly feel. But I'm so fortunate to the Brown family and the organization for even bringing me in. So grateful for that, because it helped me tremendously. But I just feel that I don't feel like my loop. I don't think everything was handled and my loop was closed right in Dallas.
That's Roy Williams, safety, Dallas Cowboys. Thanks for joining us on this episode of JacquesTalk One-on-One. We'll see you soon.